Welcome to another episode of Band Director Bootcamp, the podcast with productivity and wellness tips for busy band directors. I'm your host, Lesley Moffat, and I'm really grateful to be sharing this platform with you. As busy band directors, we know you don't have lots of time to watch lengthy professional development webinars, so we share 20-minute tidbits with takeaways you can use to support you with professional longevity and a healthier life. And today I bring somebody here who's got a tip that is super helpful in a lot of ways about things that you might stress about. And he's gonna have some cool stuff to share. And his name is David Duarte. He's the band director. He's currently a band director at Washougal High School down in the south part of Washington State. And I met him a little over a year ago. I got to go conduct the honor band, their county honor band down there. And that's a dream job because when you need some help, you say, could someone help the saxophones and go fix what's wrong? And there's David, he grabs the saxes, takes them out and fixes it and brings them back. And it was just lovely. It was like, I like this guy. He gets in and helps out. So that was really cool to meet him down there. But before he came to Washougal, he was the fine arts administrator at Deer Valley Unified School District in Phoenix, and he's a former music teacher at the Nashville School of the Arts. He is also the host of Yamaha Music for All's podcast called Culture Before Content, and I'm going to make a shameless plug. I was just recently on it, so go check it out. We had a blast talking, and we went on and on for a while. So just come and grab a cup of tea or something and come hang out with us there. But yeah, he's hosting that now, serving through that way. And I'm just thrilled to have him here. And so before I let him talk much, I'm going to tell you what he's going to talk about. Because he mentioned that one of the things that he's done, because we were talking about productivity and stuff, and he talked about student teaching framework that he created. And I got intrigued, and I've been thinking about that since I talked to him earlier in the week, because the folks that are coming out of colleges now and starting student teachers or to go student teach, they graduated high school when that pandemic was going on. So that was how their high school time ended. Then they started college most likely online for a year or in some weird circumstances. And then they went into college in regular college, if you will, but then it was very different because we were now preparing kids for a world that we hadn't experienced before. And it's crazy. And now they're going into a classroom. And so as mentor teachers and someone who is responsible for helping student teachers prepare for a world that we haven't really all figured out yet, it's a golden opportunity and it's so important. And doing it right is really important too. And I'm excited because he's going to talk about the intentional way of approaching your student-teacher partnership here so that they can go out and take on their own classrooms and be successful. We need more of that. That's what they need. And so I'm super excited to bring David here to talk about this. So he's here to talk to us. David, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. This is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm so intrigued and I want you to share a little bit about this, but tell us a little bit about your background first. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I've been teaching for 34 years. Let's see. I'm a saxophone player by nature, but I'm actually a reed one player. I play flute, clarinet. I've been playing more clarinet here. Went to undergrad back in the 80s. Graduated, started teaching, built a few programs and got my band to play in a few conferences, IAJE, Midwest, WIBIC. And I just became that guy that liked teaching and decided to retire. Became a fine arts administrator, not by choice. Retired from that, ended up in Nashville, found out that tornadoes are not cool. And that's how I ended up in the Pacific Northwest. And I found the coolest little job because I want to teach at a school that may not necessarily have access to a teacher. And I just got lucky and found a place and found my new home.
Oh, that was a great group of people in that whole county, the directors from there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Still
great
amazing
place to work. Yeah. I was impressed when I went down there. Really cool. So, you probably just didn't one day say, hey, just for fun, I'm going to create a student teacher template or framework here. Tell us what led you to do this.
Well, a couple things. Number one, we talked about a story on my podcast with me, and I ended up in the hospital with pneumonia for five days and missed out on my band trip. But anyway, the thing was, we had a band trip, and I missed my own band trip, and I had a student teacher at the time, and I realized I accidentally gave my student teacher probably the best experience by not being there. And then the experience after, I didn't just walk back in the classroom after having pneumonia for 5 days and then becoming normal. She got one of the most amazing experiences. And then I thought to myself, Why was that? Because I've had student teachers, I have about 10 student teachers before. And so I just became constant. No one ever gave us a way to train our teachers. As I said, you don't make a student teacher make copies. They're not there to do your bidding. They're really there as a second teacher. But they've got to learn how to teach. And watching yourself teach is, a component of it. But what I realized is I can do things, and that didn't necessarily help them. But I wasn't in their head finding a way that helped them. So, the impetus really was because I accidentally gave my student teacher a better experience than I ever planned. And then when I finally got a student teacher, because I took the 11-year administrator gap, I had one in Nashville. And then I started working on my master's thesis at University of New Mexico. And ended up becoming my project and my thesis.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's hard for band directors because we're kind of control freaks, right? Just a little.
A little bit.
I'm just speaking from personal experience, right? And I love having student teachers, but at first it was really hard to share. I didn't want to share all the groups, not the younger groups because, they need you more, but not the more advanced groups because, they need you more. And so it is tempting to let them observe or just take one or two kids out or do a sectional here or there. So, yeah, I'm glad you're talking about this because, again, I was given.
No, I honestly think it's a mistake because, like my last student teacher, who I actually wrote this project with, for or against, however you want to put it, he actually could after COVID. He was actually during COVID and after COVID, and the final concert, which we did online, we did in one rehearsal. We put a concert together. He conducted the whole thing, and I let go. And again, these are the life lessons that you learn. They need to be in front of your top ensemble as much, and they are going to have a voice, and you can get them there, and you can get all your goals accomplished with your kids just like you did before. But it takes a little bit of trust and a little bit of guidance.
Yeah. And you would think there would be maybe they train people better for that now, but it was just, hey, here, take a student teacher. You'll get $100 stipend for all the extra work you do while the student teachers pay a fortune to don't get me started on all that. But I wish we could, student teachers should be paid and if we could afford and then not have to pay tuition, and they should do it for a full year. Because those different seasons, and I don't mean concert season, but the seasons that kids go through and starting up a school year, closing out a school year, planning a trip, executing a trip. And so we have to cram a lot in and then hope they figure the rest out.
The thing that scares me about the whole student teaching experience is also what sparked it was, they can't be me, and that's not like saying I'm great or anything. I'm just saying in the end, they're walking into something that's already there. The discipline's already there. The kids are already there. The techniques, everything's in place. And I get so worried that they're going to fool themselves or they haven't missed what those components took. I walked in for 30 years and here I am with the student teacher, but they're going to walk in and I'm afraid they're going to fool themselves into thinking this is how it works. That was one of the impetus.
And being real clear with them. So let's dive in because you know how I am. I keep these short and to the point. So I want you to share with us a couple of the things that you've got in your book that maybe somebody's getting or has a student teacher, and what would be some things you'd really want to make sure they touch on?
Well, I'm going to go with my catchphrase. Learning takes place in reflection. That is what is the impetus and what drives this thing. It gives the student teacher a chance to reflect and the mentor teacher a chance to reflect. And so what it does, it's just like 3 questions that get asked over and over. Like, what are things that went well? What are things that you need to learn? What are the next steps that you feel that you need to learn? And so in this reflection, it collects, it's just a Google form that I created. And so what happens is at the end of the day, the student teacher every day goes and answers those 3 basic questions. And then what's really neat about it is those questions are available to be able to share it with other teachers, other people, even other people, like not necessarily music teachers, a social studies teacher, English teacher, but the person can then start asking questions, but then they can actually start getting answers from a lot of people. And then I can see their questions, because what you think is going on is not necessarily what's happening in the classroom. And the mentor teacher can say, wow, I really should have done this. I really should have said this. And so what it is, it's a daily reflection piece. And at the end of the week, there's a weekly reflection that you both do. And then there's a scoring component. And so what you do is you kind of score where you're at. And the neat thing is when you start doing these little self scores, you tend to actually put people into the right boxes and the right numbers. And you actually kind of score yourself where you're at, as long as you're honest. So it's like, maybe I'm doing inventory. Maybe I'm doing preparation on this work. Maybe I'm doing score study. Maybe I'm doing greeting kids in the classroom. But it allows the student teacher to collect all those components and actually actively participate, and then spend each weekend doing that. And then by looking at that self-score, I gave myself a 4 out of 10 on this component. I'm going to put some effort into that. And what I noticed is I kind of built this on an 8-week cycle, because a lot of student teacher experiences are 8 weeks at the elementary, middle, and then 8 weeks at the high school. By the way, on my one student teacher, I got spoiled. I had him for a year, just saying. He did practicum with me, and then he did the student teacher. And the student teacher I just had, we did the 8-week component, but it was written so that you could do it however long you have it. But it is amazing to me that when you see what's inside a student teacher's head and how they score themselves and how you score yourself working with the student teacher, how it all just starts to match up. And then the next thing you know, the student teacher is getting what they need. They're not just going up there and conducting and making the band play and go, yay. They're actually getting into the things that they need to do to become a better teacher.
Sweet. This is really cool. And I want to dig in a little deeper. But before we do, I'm going to take a brief minute and share something special with all of our guests that are listening today to Band Director Bootcamp. Are you feeling overwhelmed with the never-ending tasks of being a band director? Do you dream of having a strong music program while still enjoying time for yourself and your family? Well, the Empowered Music Educator Academy is here to turn that dream into a reality. Here at the Academy, we offer a comprehensive suite of resources tailored just for you. From insightful books that offer fresh perspectives to engaging courses filled with practical strategies. But that's not all. If you need a more personalized approach, you can use our one-on-one coaching sessions, which are designed to address your unique challenges, helping you find harmony in your busy schedule. And for a truly immersive experience, join us at one of our retreats where you can rejuvenate and connect with fellow music educators. The Empowered Music Educator Academy isn't just about teaching music. It's about enriching your life as a band director. We're here to ensure you thrive professionally and personally, providing you with personalized tools for wellness and productivity tips that last a lifetime. So don't miss out. Visit our website at powereducator.com to learn more and take the first step towards a more balanced, fulfilling career in music education. Because at Band Director Bootcamp, we believe in empowering you to conduct not just music, but a life you love. All right, we are back with David Duarte, and we have been digging into his student teacher template, basically, for reflection. And what I'm hearing you say, and what is the key to all this, is that it's a quick daily reflection, because when we do it with the student teacher supervisor or the university supervisor, just every so often, it's hard to get the big picture. But when we have that daily data, and I'm not a data-driven person, but I see the value in it for stuff like this. I survey my students at the end of every single class every day in my Moffat-gram. That's how we end class every day. And it's a Google form, and it checks in with how was your participation level today? Did you practice last night? If so, what did you practice? It doesn't have a minimum, but just it causes them to have to reflect on that each day. Well, when they have to answer those questions every day, then they're more aware at night, then, I could practice, couldn't I? Because I'm going to be asked that question tomorrow. And so, and so just like you're talking about here, it's the same process. It's getting people to be aware. That's what mindfulness is. It's bringing your awareness to things. And so bringing it in, it just shortens the learning process, because you can, you go, what am I looking at? What's going well? What's not going well? Let's close that gap faster, because we can identify the gap. So
absolutely.
You've got a tool to help identify the gaps to help your student teacher be better.
So the big thing for me on these was, it's for the student teachers. I call them kids. Sorry, I got old here for a second. But it was like, what's your big takeaway? What's important to learn? What's your success? And what are your challenges? And it came down from that training I received as an administrator, the plus delta factor. What's going well? What needs to be addressed? Rather than using negative language. Mm-hmm. And then what are your lingering questions? And that was from my advisor at University of New Mexico. Fantastic. George, wherever you are, amazing. Anyway, that lingering question is actually where I got most of the reflection from the student teacher, because it's where I could see something that was bothering them. Like they might find something to focus on that I wasn't looking at. They might be like, I'm worried about the tone of my voice. I'm worried about how I'm interacting. I'm worried. Just little tiny things. But it is just, there's just really those quick questions, and then you can focus on what you need to do the week. But again, I want to emphasize the student teaching is supposed to emphasize on teaching and pedagogy, not on watching you and not on doing the daily task. It really is getting a second teacher and making teaching happen.
Yeah. And it's such a privilege. I really enjoy that opportunity. I learned so much from the student teachers too, just they see things differently. They've been trained differently than we were. So much more. Their world has been different remember, okay, David, I'm going to age us. Remember back in the olden days when we had to go to the music library and get headphones and sit down at the phonograph and put the record on to listen for our drop the needle tests? Now people can just go on YouTube and they can just listen and do things. So access to music has changed. Things have changed so much. And so as I love having student teachers because they're learning such different stuff that they can fill me in on. And it's such an amazing opportunity to have in so many ways. But if it's not done right, it's not helpful for student teachers. It'll derail your own classroom culture for when they're gone if you haven't established that really well, if you give too much too soon or not enough. So this mindful way that you've come across, that's one of the chapters in my book, you guys, mindfulness, how to be mindful of something so that you can make changes. But you have to observe it first. You have to first identify what it is. And we talked about this yesterday on your thing or the other day. That's what, if you don't just walk into a rehearsal and before you hear a group play, you don't start saying, trumpets, the F sharp in measure 6, mark it. But you could, because you probably predict because you know your kids, but you usually don't. You play through or do something to so you can start assessing and then say, oh, here's where the help is needed. And so I love your process. You get people thinking, and then they know what they're going to be asked each day, so they're more aware of those things. You start conversations. It just is wonderful. And so here's the good news for you listeners. David's going to share this with us. I'm going to put the link in the show notes, but it's if you want to sneak to it before, or you can't get at it, it's David Duarte, DavidDuarte.me/student teacher. 2 T's in a row, and it looks kind of weird, but that's what it really is. And then you can check out what he's talking about and look at that form and think about, wow, how would this help me? How would this help a student teacher? Then it would obviously benefit your students and future students for your student teacher. And look at there's a lot of people's lives you can change besides just your student teachers. So really consider, if you've got student teachers, do you have a really good system that's working really well for you? And if not, here's one. Use it, take it. That's why he's here today, was to share this, because I heard about it and I was pretty intrigued. David, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What I did want to say to people really quick, if for some reason a link doesn't work, what I learned is a lot of times your district will block Google, because I have them set as auto copies. I'm going to go probably in here later today and try to fix it so everyone can get access to something that's missing. But you have access to my information on the document. So if you need something, my stuff's on there. I've always taught myself, share me and you can have it as much as you want.
Cool. And you guys go listen to, like, and subscribe to the podcast. It's called Culture Before Content, music for all and Yamaha stuff. So good stuff coming out of there. So thank you, David Duarte, for joining us today on this edition of Band Director Boot Camp. And thank you to all you listeners who are making a difference in kids' lives every day through the magic of music education. The work you do matters, and so do you. Join us next time on Band Director Boot Camp for another episode of productivity and wellness tips to make your life a little easier.